I don't want to be strong like man who look pretty. I want to be strong like bitch that fight bears in the forest.
Okay, so we have kind of been talking about this, but given that it's January and everyone is starting all these new goals, making changes to improve their fitness and their health, where would you suggest they start with that?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So I'm obviously going to throw this out there. You should get a coach.
Yes.
Just saying. But in all seriousness, I think having a person or a community to help you stay accountable is really important. And maybe that is hiring a coach or going to the gym or telling a friend, about how you want your new year to look. Just to have a sense of accountability. It could be telling your partner, anytime I want to make a change. I tell my husband because we live in the same house, so it's probably going to affect him, so I like to tell him kind of like what I'm thinking. Like if I eat a lot more veggies, so are you, kind of just telling your family about what you want and your friends, I think is important. And kind of like I mentioned above, making like a plan on how you're going to achieve that change. I think is important.
So, okay, here we are, episode 11, second week of the new year. We are joined by a good friend of ours, Becca Pinero. She's the owner, operator, coach of Black Sheep Coaching, where she focuses on nutrition and strength training. And today we are going to pick her brain about nutrition and how it relates to fitness.
Becca, thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too.
I love this part because it's like, hey, welcome here, and also just tell me everything about you in however long you want to take. So tell us a little bit about what you do, how we know each other, and just like anything you can think of.
Yeah. So, okay. Most importantly, I'm a full-time dog mom to my border collie, Summit. It's a big part of my life.
Most important part.
Right. Yeah. I am a military spouse, which is how I know you guys. I met my husband in the Coast Guard in Alaska, and then we moved to Maine, where we all went to the same gym. I'm now in Oregon. I am a small business owner of Black Sheep Coaching. I recently stepped away from being a full-time paramedic. Did you guys know that?
We didn't. We just recently found that out.
Yeah. So I was working as a full-time paramedic until a couple months ago. The reason I'm no longer doing that is kind of like a long story, but essentially Oregon is really hard when it comes to moving your license over to this state. So I was like, after fighting, I got it moved over, and I was working for like a year, and then Oregon's like, we're not gonna like give you another license, just FYI. So yeah, that was back in October. And I'm like, well, okay, this is neat. Around the same time, I was also bumped to night shift. So I wasn't horribly sad about it. Like I hated working nights. Personally, and just as, an athlete, it's really hard. So I'm like, now is probably a great time just to pour all my energy into my business. Yeah, so it was a scary leap that I was kind of forced into, but I'm so glad I was, because I honestly don't know if I would have had the guts to quit full-time, paramedicine, having that steady paycheck. But yeah, I've been doing it for a few months now, and it's been going so great. So that's kind of the gist of what I'm up to right now.
Oh, well, that's, not awesome that you had to go through those struggles, but like you said, I think it's so cool that when there's kind of like an opportunity that's pushed into your lap and you're like, okay, well, I could run from this, or I could go full in and like commit myself to training as an athlete, running my own business, like doing the things that I actually really want to focus on.
Really want to do. Yeah. And that I didn't have really time or energy to do while I was working full time in healthcare. Like they kind of run you dry. So trying to be a full-time athlete and trying to run a business was just really hard. And it didn't get the attention I wanted to give it, so being pushed into it, I'm so grateful that happened. Because I don't know if I would have ever had the guts to be like, I'm quitting and I'm going to like run my own business, but here I am. So I'm really glad it did work out the way it did.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Yeah. And then also moving into night shift, like I can't imagine trying to like disruptive sleep routines and like perform as an athlete. Like you're not getting adequate recovery. Like I bet that was just so much to juggle. I can't even imagine.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I was on night shift for probably like a month, and I'm not the kind of person, I've never been the kind of person that can run off of anything less than like 7 hours. Right? I need my 7 hours of good sleep to feel like normal, not even great, just normal. Right? And everybody told me in order to make night shift work, you have to be willing on your days off to stay up all night. Right? And like, you have to keep that going to get in that full routine. And I mean, I just like, no, I love the sun, it sounded so depressing to me. So it was a struggle for sure. I mean, trying to be on the same schedule as my husband, and my dog didn't like when I slept all day at all. It was not for me to say the least.
It's good that you found out relatively early instead of like suffering through that for like a year or so and then trying to make that adjustment back, because I know a few folks who have done that and it's just been awful, like trying to reacclimate to the world after a year of night shift.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, you go through periods of just being nauseous all the time. I mean, like it really feels like your body is kind of telling you something's not right, And I mean, there were so many factors that went into it. Like, at nighttime, your body's used to sleeping. So you naturally just don't burn as many calories in the middle of the night. But if you're up and you're eating, not even horrible, but just normal, it's more, like you're kind of in like a surplus there. So there was just so many factors. And before I realized they weren't going to renew my license, I was on night shift. I was telling my husband, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, I don't think I can keep this up. And then the state's like, we're not renewing your license. So I'm like, well, there you go. Okay.
That's a sign. I'm going to take that from the universe.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm so glad I was on nights when they did this to make me like less sad, It's not like I was thriving or something.
Right? Baseline surviving at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Perfect.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm happy that you've been able to like fully commit to the things that you really want to do. Because I know when we were all together in Maine, you had a dream and a goal of being a full-time CrossFit athlete and like making it to the games and doing things. You're doing Wadapalooza, aren't you?
No, I did the qualifiers, but I did not make top 20. It was my second year doing the qualifiers. The first year I was like top in the 400s, and this last year I was in the top 200s. Ooh. So like if the math keeps going this direction, then like next year, or actually this year at this point, so I'm going to keep doing the qualifiers. I have so much fun with them. I'm probably going to do the open again this year, but my big goal is to do the Wadapalooza and go. It wouldn't be this year, it would be next year, but that's the goal.
That's awesome. And I love that there's like tangible data that you're like, okay, well, I improved clearly because I have gone 200 slots.
Exactly. I'm like, man, I was telling Chris, our coach, I'm like, if this keeps going, then I'll be like first place next year if I move another 200.
Perfect.
That's what I'm holding on to.
I like it. Well, cool. Okay, so you have a really cool background, and that's why we wanted to have you on, because you worked in the healthcare field, you do train as an athlete, you own your own fitness and nutrition business, so you just have like insight that I think is going to be super helpful for us and for our listeners. But to start us off, generally speaking, what do you think is like the best or like the most important factors for like overall health and wellness? Like these just, again, like layman's, like nice, easy things that like kind of the everyday person could do.
Yeah. I like the first thing that comes to mind is realizing no action is too small to start. In fact, I actually encourage any of my clients to start with something that is so small, so easy, like they're 100% sure that they can do it, and start there and really build that, like I wanted to do something and I achieved it, right? Then they're getting confident in that ability. I think that's probably one of the most things I preach is just starting with something you can do.
I love that.
I love that because I feel like people, especially in January, set these really like big, lofty goals.
Oh, yeah.
And then you don't build that confidence. You're like, I don't feel like I'm working towards it, or it just feels so far away that it's really hard to attain. But something that you can do for sure, it feels like, okay, well, nice. I at least I can check that off the list.
Right. Yeah. And then you can keep going. And I think, I don't remember the exact numbers behind it, but, it's like if you set one goal compared to 3 new goals, the likelihood of achieving it go down so much the more you add, right? Like just focus on one thing, maybe 2, but the more you add it, you have a less likelihood of achieving those goals. So start off small, simple, and one thing at a time. And just, prove to yourself you can do it, and then just keep moving forward with that.
I like that a lot. I think my small goal is going to be drink less coffee, because I know I can drink less coffee.
But do you want to?
I mean, I think yes, I want to, because I know I've tricked myself into thinking that caffeine doesn't affect me. But it does. Like, I know that I sleep better when I don't have caffeine later in the day, like those kinds of things. So do I want to? Yes.
Like you do. I get that. No, you do, because you want the benefits. Yeah. Of like drinking less, sleeping better. I totally get that.
Yeah.
So one thing that I also encourage people is to, like, when they set a new goal, is to make a plan on how you're going to achieve it, right? Like, if you want to eat more protein, you're going to need to make a grocery list and bring more protein into your house. So how are you going to go about like drinking less coffee? Like, are you just going to cut out like a whole cup, or are you going to have like a half a cup?
Oh, so this is really great. I realized that one of my, I guess like one of the ways that I was over consuming caffeine was that it was readily available when I woke up. So like we would prep the coffee the night before, and then I would come down and a full pot would already be made. So it was really easy for me to then just pour a cup of coffee, and it was just like this issue of like, okay, so I'm drinking coffee because it's already made, which means I'm not drinking water as soon as I wake up.
Yeah.
And then it becomes like, I'm dehydrated, so I'm tired, so I'm drinking more coffee. So now what I do is I do prep the coffee the night before, but I don't program it to go off until I get up and walk downstairs to let the dogs out, and then I hit the button. So while it's brewing, I'm drinking water. So that has seemed to help a lot, because then I only have 1 cup of coffee before I leave the house to go to the gym. Yeah. And I'm not drinking coffee while I'm at the gym. And I'm out of pre-workout, so I'm not getting caffeine there.
There you go. Oh, I love that. Okay, such a good plan. That is so cool. Okay.
Yeah. I had to do a lot of thinking about it, though.
Right? Yeah, but if you're just like, I'm going to drink less coffee, and then you don't put any more thought into it, like, it may never happen. You may really want to, but, you're in your same routine. The coffee's ready as soon as you get up, and it's there in front of you. To say no to that would be a lot harder.
Yeah. I think that's one thing, too, is people don't want to disrupt their routines. Mm-hmm. And usually to make changes, you have to cause a disruption.
Yeah. No, that's a really good way to look at it. Yeah, I'm a routine person. Yeah, she's like, I'm good. So I think it's important too to realize that, if you want to make a change for the new year, it doesn't always have to mean you're going to throw a heavy barbell around really fast to be healthier. Like it, right? Like maybe your new year, you just walk more, or you go to yoga, or, things like that. I have to remember that, right? That like, I don't always have to go in the gym and do heavy, hard things. that might not be what I need this year or today. You know, every day is going to be different, but just understanding that you don't have to go crazy to get healthy.
Love that.
Yeah, I love that too. I think a lot of people encounter that hurdle. They just throw themselves into it and go ham, and then it's not sustainable. Or they have an idea of what they think healthy looks like, which is something that I think, you know, as a society we need to work on. Like, I mean, most bodybuilders and CrossFit athletes, the people who look like they're healthy tend to you know, not be the healthiest people on the planet, because they're doing things to perform,
right?
Versus like longevity health things. So like, I think performance and health they don't always overlap in the Venn diagram.
Yeah, no, they're all completely different goals and different priorities for sure. Yeah, and that took me a while to understand as well. Like when I kind of transitioned from working out to look good in a swimsuit to wanting to be more of like a performance athlete, you know, like lift heavy things, like there was a lot of changes happening in my body, and I had to understand, like, look, it's one thing to look good and it's one thing to be really strong and lift a lot of weight. You know, they don't necessarily go hand in hand. So understanding that I might have a little more body fat than normal, and that's totally fine. You know, like what do you want? Like that's what you have to remember. Like if you want to look like somebody on Instagram, well, you need to know what they're going for and what their goals are.
Yeah. One of my favorite brands is, Kind of Fit, Kind of Fat. And I just feel like I resonate with that brand, because I'm like, if my insides, like I can maintain a pretty high heart rate, like my cardiovascular system's pretty good. Yeah, I carry a little bit more weight, but like it's not the only factor. Like I have great blood pressure. I have great, you know, like my O2 stats are great. And so I'm always like, I wish my inside, like I looked on the outside how my inside feels. Like I feel pretty good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and like I kind of recently experienced the other side of that. So I had a doctor's appointment a few months ago, and my cholesterol was high, and I was so embarrassed and like confused. You know, I'm like, what are you talking about? You did it wrong. You know. But I mean, come to find out, like that runs in my family. I guess like, you know, my mom, everyone has that. So I was just like predisposed to it. But I was so used to like looking fit, you know, that like, oh, my insides must obviously be the same way. But that's not necessarily true, you know? So I kind of had to like reevaluate, like, okay, like maybe I need to like just talk to my nutrition coach, let her know and change a few things. But yeah, like that's a really good point. You know, we don't know, like, are you healthy on the inside? Is your heart healthy? Then great. You know, like that's how we look or the size we are is not the only thing that matters in the health world.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It took me a really long time, especially as like a woman, to realize nobody's inside my jeans looking at the size of my jeans. Like, do I feel comfortable in them? Like, nobody else is going to be like, yes, you're now wearing a size 12. Like, I'm the only one who knows that information. So, like, why is that a determining factor? Like, why am I squeezing myself into 2 sizes too small? Like, feeling like the Grinch? Like, it's hard.
Which is only going to make you look bigger than you actually are, because they don't fit.
And you're uncomfortable. Yeah. And I mean, this is something that like, I still have good days and bad days about this. I really do. Some days I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love how, you know, like my body's getting bigger and I look strong. And then other days I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, who is this person? Right? Like I still have to really, you know, take charge of those thoughts. Like it's definitely still I want to say every day, but you know, it's something I still deal with and have to like, you know, work on to show myself love where I'm at.
Yeah. I think that's an important takeaway too. Like you have to show yourself love where you're at. And, you know, depending on what your goals are, it can be really hard. Like I know Shelby, struggles with that, like as an Olympic lifter, like she added something like 22 kilos to her lifts from last year to this year, but she's also gone up, you know, like maybe 20 pounds, but I'm like, mass moves mass, right? Like you're trying to lift heavy, like for a little while, there's not gonna be like a clear cut balance. And like her squats have gotten just out of this world. But before, like, yeah, you were skinny, but you couldn't squat. Like,
right. Yeah. Again, so it's like, what are your goals? Yeah, if you want to lift a lot of weight, that might mean the scale goes up, but it just, no, that's a really good, weightlifting. I know at a lot of fellow weightlifters where they decided to go up in their weight class and they just started lifting so much better, sometimes less is not more in that world at all.
Yeah. Cool. Well, shifting just a little bit, but we kind of touched on it too.
Yeah.
What was your biggest hurdle as a fitness professional who was previously like working in the healthcare setting? Like, what do you see a lot of as a fitness professional coming to you and then being like, okay, like this doesn't equate to like good health and wellness? Because I think fitness and health and wellness, there should again be more overlap in that Venn diagram, and there doesn't seem to be.
Oh my gosh, for sure. So, essentially, like, what was my hurdles as a healthcare worker and a try to be a healthy person?
Either your personal experience or some that you've seen from like, clients and things like that. Just like, what are some of those big hurdles?
Yeah. So, okay, I love this question, first of all, because when I was working full time in healthcare, I remember feeling really alone. None of my fellow coworkers were trying to be healthy. There was always so much junk food around, and this really goes for, any work environment. But one of my common struggles as a paramedic was really what attracted me to the career, which was how unpredictable each day would be, right? So some days you'd go in and you'd run 911 calls around town, and other days you'd go in and you'd get sent on an 8-hour transfer. So trying to pack food, not knowing what your day's going to look like, right? Like, okay, I can't have something that's going to be microwaved. It has to be able to survive in a cooler, and it has to have a lot of protein in it. Things like that. It was such a struggle. So I just remember always battling with that and telling my health coach why I didn't hit my macros this week. I was like, well, I was on a transfer every day, or just, things like that. But we talked about this earlier. The sleep was probably my biggest struggle. And something that added to that struggle was everywhere I looked, in the fitness community, everybody preached the importance of sleep, right? Like we do. However, some people have to work nights. Some people have to work in the healthcare industry. That's their livelihood. So I would never want somebody to feel like, oh, if you work nights, don't even bother, right? You 100% can hit your goals working nights, and, you can achieve great things. You're just going to have to know you're working nights. Show yourself some grace. Be patient with yourself. Try to sneak in a nap first. Understand that if you're working nights, you might feel hungry, but you might also not necessarily need to be eating. There's so many different things that go into it. And I remember just wanting somebody to talk to about that, right? I'm up at 3 a.m. I'm really hungry, but I've already hit my macros. What do I do? So that was a big struggle. But yeah, I just would never want a healthcare worker to feel like they can't achieve their goals because of the job they have. You can try to find a community and just control what you can control. That's all we can do. It really is. And pack a lot of protein snacks.
What did you pack?
So I had a really nice little cooler. And one of my favorite things is I might be saying this wrong, but Chobani, I think, is the yogurt brand, right? Mm-hmm. So they have these yogurt drinks. So you don't need a spoon, and they have 25 grams of protein in one of these drinks. Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I would pack 2 of those for a 12-hour shift, and bam, there was my 50 grams. I would, if I ever stopped at Starbucks, I would always get their egg whites. Those had some good protein in it. And then if I had to eat out, I would choose places like Chipotle or, like Chick-fil-A, and I'll just get the grilled stuff. But I wish I was more of a protein bar kind of person. I've yet to find a protein bar that I really like. Like I feel like I can eat half of it and then I'm just so grossed out by it I can't finish it. So I would pack like protein like powder, but yeah, there was a lots of cold chicken too. I would just eat cold chicken.
That sounds so sad.
I know, right? And just sitting in the back of the ambulance eating cold chicken, yeah.
Delicious.
Right? I'm like, oh, this is great.
Living the life.
Yep.
Okay. So it looks like our last question for you. Just 1 to 2 things for those of us that are already comfortable with our training schedule and eating habits to be able to then level up those things. What would that be?
Okay. So like level up like performance wise or just overall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
This might be a loaded question just for like
myself. Like, I need you to be in the gym 3 more hours now.
Is free coaching for Sydney.
Right. Honestly, it's probably going to be kind of boring, nothing exciting, but I would say focus a lot more on recovery. Like if you're happy with the amount of time you're spending in the gym and what you're eating, I would say really focus on the little things, your sleep, water, mobility, stress management, those things, right? Everyone grabs their water bottle.
Mobility. Yes.
Mobility. What is that? You're foam rolling. That's probably what I would say. And, this is just also what whenever I'm like, okay, like I just want to do more. What should I do? It's going to come back to like the boring little things that don't seem that cool, right? But, really setting yourself up for a great day in the gym and a great day of eating. If you really wanted to take it an extra step, you could start potentially tracking your food just to see. I think this is smart for anybody who's comfortable in their eating. Like, why don't you just take a journal of what you've eaten for the last 3 days and see where you're at? Make sure you're not overly like eating one group or under eating another. Especially women tend to undereat protein. So maybe do a little food journal and see where you're at and just make sure that those numbers are good. If you wanted to add in any sort of supplement, I would probably say creatine. That seems to be the only one that I really prioritize. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. What brand do you take?
Well, this is a loaded question for me. I take SFH's strong post-workout.
Okay.
And so that's creatine, beef isolate, and glutamine.
Nice. Okay.
I think it's probably one of the best things that I've done in terms of recovery. So I mix that with, it's meant to be stacked with a protein source. So I always take like an SFH protein, one of the pures. So it has a little bit higher grammage of protein. Mm-hmm. And I stack it with that. And I just drink it religiously after classes. And I actually just started getting back into it. And I was like, oh, right. This is so helpful. Like I recover better when I do this.
Whenever I run out of something, I am so lazy about buying more. And then it's like I start again and I'm like, why did I ever stop? Yeah. I'm so bad about that.
Yeah. And I think,
so cool.
Especially as women, like I think creatine for a long time was like seen as like that forbidden, like it was all the bro dudes. And they're like, oh yeah, like creatine. And people were like, oh, is it like illicit? Like, is that okay? Like, is it a bad drug?
And they're like, you're going to retain so much water, so just be prepared for that. Like, I had never started creatine and been like, wow, I'm retaining so much water, maybe for really dehydrated people, I don't know, but it shouldn't be scary.
Yeah. And so I think hearing people say like creatine added in makes me so happy because I think it's one of the ones that is like you should add in, and everybody has like really strong feelings about creatine, but it's incredibly helpful. And there's been a ton of studies. Sorry, this is going to be a little off topic, but ton of studies coming out about creatine's benefits for premenopausal and menopausal women, and it's incredibly fascinating. So,
so
in my
cool.
off time, I will send those to you.
Yeah, please do. That is so cool. Yeah, I always like to nerd out on stuff like that when I can. I've done a little research on creatine, not as much as I'd like, but I've done enough to know that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is one that I'll stand behind and I personally want to use.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Well, before we wrap up, anybody have any questions, comments, fashion tips, anything for January that you're working on, anything like that?
Do you guys, I saw on one of your TikToks, which, oh my gosh, TikTok, that's another topic I could go down. But you guys doing clothing, is that right? Is that new, or have you been doing that?
Yes, we have some things. I'm wearing one of our early edition Shield Maiden shirts right now. And actually, I put this shirt on today, and it made me feel really good about my body because I'm feeling very strong up top.
Yes.
A little baggy down below, and I was like, do I look beefy in this?
You're like, wait a second, doing a little flex.
So I think we need to do another run. We have a bonfire, and it's easy for us to throw things up into our.
We have a store. The store
we have a store.
You can purchase things anytime.
You have a store on Bonfire?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
called the Armory.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I started using Bonfire as well. It's so easy, right? You just put it up there and it's walk away. Okay. Super cool. I'll check that out.
We can do a shirt swap.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That'd be fun. I like it. Okay.
I'm trying to get Amber and to sign off because we're a partnership, so she needs to sign off. I have an idea for a new logo or kind of logo, and it's a bear riding a unicorn over a rainbow, shitting a golden egg.
Oh my gosh, Amber. What is holding you back?
Okay. We still haven't even gotten the new logo that we designed.
XP's already making another one.
In a usable format. So we first need to get our actual official logo in a usable format. Sydney, I'm putting that back in your court.
Sid, you could just make stickers like that, maybe, baby steps, right?
Okay, so I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Because that would make a glorious tank top.
Right?
And t-shirt and stickers.
Yeah.
So first step, we need to get our new logo.
Step one.
Because we need the actual official logo.
Yeah. There was a lot of things that I was kind of on hold waiting for my logo, right? You need it for your clothing and just posting pictures, so many things. Once I got that, I was like, oh, there's so many things I can do now. Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, yeah, we'll do a little shirt swap and we'll just be repping each other on opposite ends, right? Because I'm in Oregon and you guys are all the way on the other side. That's awesome.
I think that's going to be awesome. Cool. All right. So, Becca, remind us where we can look at your business, how we can find you on social media. If people would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that for coaching and fitness things? So all of the ways that we can get in touch with you.
Yay. So I've kept my username on Instagram and TikTok the same. It's just Becca Pinero for both. And I have not been able to figure out how to put a link in my TikTok bio. So there is an email there, but no link. In my Instagram, though, I have a link in my bio. And if you click on that, you can see where to go for coaching, one-on-one. There are programs. I'm building up my program library that people can purchase. And then also my bonfire store. So pretty much, you can shoot me an email, click on the link, DM me. I kind of check all those things. But yeah, I'm trying to be more active on TikTok. I've always been an Instagram user, but I'm I need to venture out and get on this TikTok. And I feel so old trying to use TikTok because I don't understand. Oh my gosh, what do you want from me, TikTok? So don't judge my videos, please.
Like and subscribe, but don't judge them.
Don't judge. I honestly didn't want people I knew following me on there while I was figuring it out. Let's just look the other way.
I love
totally get
Yeah.
that. Wait until you're closer to 40 than 30 and then come talk to me about that.
By then I'll have it figured out and there'll be a new one.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah,
nothing new.
100%.
I'm done. We're on all the platforms we're going on.
Yep.
We're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram.
I don't have a, well, I have a YouTube, but that's where I post like my how to do videos on movements and I'll link them to my like workouts. I don't have just like a fun YouTube channel. I don't feel like I'm mentally there yet. Like TikTok's scary enough. YouTube will be next.
Well, we post the videos of the podcast on YouTube. So you can actually watch videos.
To create its own content. Like it's hard coming up with
really.
content, right? Like people who post every day, I'm like, how do you find the time and ideas to do this?
I
don't
now
even have that much to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I now understand like why content creators are like, no, I do need to get paid. Like it is a full-time job. Like
really
coming up with the idea, filming, editing, posting, like monitoring and like seeing what the trends like it requires a lot of bandwidth.
It really does. Like
Do the editing and posting.
oh my
I know.
gosh, right? Yeah, like some people transfer all their videos over to like Adobe or, you know, whatever, like editing platform. They use that and they do all these. Oh gosh, yeah. I only do what my iPhone can do. And I'm not even using that to its full capabilities, but it really is. I have a new respect for those people who make really good content. I will hire them.
Agreed. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. This was so much fun.
It was.
You had a lot of fun. You gave us so much useful information. So thank you again. Amber, do you have anything to say before we leave?
While you're going and following and liking Becca, don't forget to follow, like, and rate us on all of our platforms, Shield Made in TC, and go watch the Instagram.
Yeah.
Not Instagram. Well, Instagram, yeah.
Yeah.
But also the YouTube videos.
That too.
Go watch all the things on all the
All
platforms.
the things.
Yay!